Hello everyone and welcome back to Introducing Ashes Part 2. If you missed our previous stream, it was the Part 1 of Introducing Ashes. That is a really good place to start if you're new to Ashes Reborn. If you are not quite new though, and you're ready to dive a little further, today's stream is just for you.
Yeah, we're going to be rolling into some deck building, which many of the veteran Ashes players will tell you this is where the game takes off.
The game outside the game.
This is where it really gets great. Now, it's worth noting, it's good that all of these products come in a pre-configured form so that you can immediately play them. There is some value in that. There's a lot of good value in that.
I think there's a ton of value in that.
But if those precons aren't all created equal, and they don't provide the full Ashes experience where you kind of really understand the depth and the beauty of the game system, so in the spirit of unlocking the depth and the beauty of that system, we're going to be showing two approaches to deck building today, and then we're going to play a game with our newly constructed decks. The first approach I'm taking is just simply copying somebody who's better at it than I am, and that is Jason, I believe Impossible German, who has provided a thing called the Adventuring Party form of a great number of these Phoenixborn. And so that is available on the blog. We'll link to that in the description of this video if you're watching this later. And I was able to search like Adventuring Party Ashes decks and find that blog online too if you're a child of the internet like I am and know how to use Google.
If you too can.
Otherwise, Mom, I'll send you a link. Secondarily, Zach's going to be approaching this as a person just thinking about things and seeing if this Mayoni original build, you're going to take the original snake build that you were doing previously and build on that, whereas I'm going to be doing something completely different here with Cole. We'll see how that works.
Yeah, and I think there's... so my approach is actually not super dissimilar to you. So I actually had a Mayoni deck. She's one of my favorite characters from the Master Set that I had been working on a long time ago. By a long time ago, I mean several months ago. And so I actually talked to a good friend, Impossible German.
Oh wow! Jason's everywhere.
Yeah, and I was just like, hey, like, can you send me some links to some popular Mayoni decks? Because I would be curious to see what they're doing, right? Yeah. I think this is another strategy that you can take. The Adventuring Party is a great like secondary resource, and the thing I want to look at actually, I have that pre-con deck that I used last week in the first stream. And I have that laid out here, and I want to compare it to the stack of cards that I have that is the Mayoni deck I'm going to play.
Yeah, nice.
But one thing I noticed when I was looking at the Mayoni decks, and also my own, was how similar they are.
Okay, that's good.
And so that actually made me kind of want to just, I dove a little deeper into that reality. And the recognition is that your Phoenixborn, one of the most unique things we talked about last week is how open the deck building is, even after you choose a Phoenixborn. So if we look at Mayoni here real quick, not to just necessarily...
Is that Mayoni Viper?
Mayoni Viper.
I forget, we're working with the robot now.
Bryce 2.0, we've got to be very clear.
Ooh, look at that robot.
So if you look at the Phoenixborn, her ability can use two basics, and that means she can pretty much use any magic type she wants.
Any magic, yeah.
Now, the other secret piece of this, though, is you look at the signature card. And some signature cards also don't require a specific magic type, but her signature card is the Summon Silver Snake. And there's a couple things that are really interesting about this. First, it has the power symbol of both the Charm die, the pink die, and the Nature die, which is green. So if you want to use the Silver Snake signature card, Summon Silver Snake, she's kind of pointing you in a very specific direction.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things, you don't have to use that.
And technically, you could run one Charm die and one Nature die and play that card and then have no other spells of those magic types.
That's right.
If you wanted, which would be pretty cool.
You definitely could. But the reason a lot of these Mayoni decks are so similar, actually, is that if you're picking Mayoni and if you're running Silver Snakes, two things happen just organically. Like I was just saying.
You're in the big unit space now, right?
So first, these magic types are going to be way more likely, right? And then secondarily, the Silver Snake is a very particular kind of unit.
Yeah.
And if you're going to run a very particular kind of unit, of course, a lot of the same tools get really good. As an example, one of the cards in the original deck was Golden Veil. One of the cards in almost every Mayoni deck that also runs Summon Silver Snake is Golden Veil.
Yeah.
Because that is just a protection card if you're spending a lot of resources and time building a very particular unit. So what I want to do when we get down to it is actually look at some of the key differences between a precon deck and a much more constructed deck.
Yeah.
I think yours, just looking at it, even here, looks a lot more like a pre-con deck. Is this the pre-con
This
deck?
is the pre-con
Okay,
deck.
I was like, that looks
I'm
just
going
like
to
a
show you
pre-con
just
deck.
how much it's going to change, courtesy of Jason's genius. I heard some people saying that the Bryce 3.0 is actually beeping as well whenever cards come in. We just had I think there was a postal scanner come through, so make sure that's not correlated. But if that keeps happening, that's hilarious. The robots are already making mistakes.
When I say call upon the realms, is it beeping? That'd be, you know what?
Find out.
It's kind of a nice.
Are they sentient yet? I mean, have we built some sort of sentient? Is it trying to talk to us?
Having some sort of I'm scared, terrified.
Yeah, it always
the
is.
Stream
Isn't
watch
it?
is
Yeah.
a nice thing. Having some sort of audio cue every time a card pops in, like the soft and in the background, you know. I bet there's like a weird psychology to that.
There could be a cool thing we could do with that. It's funny that it's happening at all. So we're working on that currently.
It's kind of like when you have the sound on your phone, you like are typing, and there's a little click, 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 click,
Yeah,
click,
yeah.
like that. Like it gives you that response kind of a thing. Anyways,
Maybe we'll have it just whisper, Bryce.
Kilo saying it's learning.
Bryce. Can you imagine every time just right at sub-audible level? Bryce.
Kevin saying I heard the beep earlier, but not beeping now.
Okay, good. Okay, do you walk me through what you're doing here with Mayoni, the kind of the approach that you took and those kinds of things. I'm going to start getting some cards together for my build, courtesy of the Adventuring Party style, and then by the end of this, we're going to have 2 decks, and we'll go through the 2 methods.
So
we'll do a little top down.
First thing I would say is
First,
do not
look at these beautiful cards.
I think Steve and I both here do not be afraid to go to a deck builder like Ashes.live, or another one that I like is called Realms app. It's more like the Netrunner DB style. But going to a website or Googling, going to the Discord, asking for links. I used to, for a long time, I was kind of anti-net decking. But especially when you're new to a game, there's absolutely, and even when you're not, there's nothing wrong with net decking. That's usually a really good place to start. Play games, find cards don't use, don't think are good, and start making tweaks and changes, and eventually, like, you kind of evolve a deck week over week. But the thing I want to look at first is actually comparing a pre-con, and when we talk about, I think it's very smart that these releases are packaged as fully playable decks right out of the gate. And I've actually seen a number of people since last week's stream saying that is the only way they've ever experienced
Yeah,
Ashes.
isn't that cool?
But a fundamental example here is that, let's look at the signature card Summon Silver Snake. So I'm playing Mayoni, I'm playing Snake. Those are decisions that I've made when I'm building this deck.
You
right?
got to, yeah.
And both of these cards were in the original pre-constructed version of the deck. But if we look at the Silver Snake itself, the Silver Snake on the bottom left has a conjuration, a limit of 1. So there can only ever be 1 in play.
Yeah.
Which means if I have a snake out and you don't destroy it,
Which I'm keen to not do.
then I
Seemingly.
can't ever summon that snake again, right?
That's right.
And there is an advantage on the Summon Silver Snake card of having multiple copies, because you can it has a focus ability, which means focus 1 if you have 2 copies in play, that ability triggers. Focus 2 if you have all 3 copies in play, that triggers. But realistically, you're unlikely to need to summon a Silver Snake more than once in a round.
Yeah. Unless
So-
things have gone really bad.
Yeah, in the pre-con, you've got 3 copies of Summon Silver Snake. In a constructed deck, which I'll start replacing up here, let's position this where you can see it. In a constructed deck, I'm only running 1. So this is a card, let me find the upper limits of this. This is a card that I'm going to start with in my first 5. I know I'm going to have it every time. It's one of the best things about first 5. You can have cards that you know you're going to start with. This is a spell, so it's going to come into play and be usable, and never draw a duplicate copy of that, right?
This is one of the key, I think you're outlining one of the absolute key starts whenever you're deck building from a pre-con especially. Cut books.
Yeah.
If the book can start and you can get it in play, do you really need more books of that creature? And like you said, a one of?
Yeah.
You absolutely don't.
And when it comes to the release as a pre-built deck, you know, they're giving you a full playset of these cards. Even though some of these cards in a constructed environment, you may never, if they're in your first 5 particularly, you may really never need more than 1. And so there are decks that would want to run 3 copies of Summon Silver Snake, so they're giving that to you in the expansion. But that's like one of the key, immediately when you're entering constructed territory, places where you can cut back. And we'll come back to more of those examples in a second. So other similarities, if I'm going Silver Snake, Golden Veil is a pretty obvious include. So I actually do still have 3 copies of Golden Veil in the deck. Just a totally necessary card. Not necessary, but it's very good if you're going to be playing the Silver Snakes. I also am a huge fan of the Gilders. I've always loved that unit and that card. And this is a spell that I am actually going to run 3 copies of. And it's because the Gilders, which I'll get out,
die often.
Do 2 things. One, they protect things, so I can block and have a way to clear these units myself. I actually want them to leave play, ultimately. When they come into play from the Summon Gilder spell, I get to do a damage to something. And then when they leave play, I get to put a status token on something, which is I want to be happening as often as possible. I'm going to test Bryce 2.0 for a second. Can we pull up the promo Gilder? I just realized that I'm using the promo copy, and it's not going to match the card that we're showing.
Let's see if robots can figure that one out.
I'm going to ultimately start with one of these, my first 5. I'm going to have multiple copies in the deck. Really, I think having 2 of these out, because I can get 2 Gilders out, is where I want to be, so that I can summon to ping a damage. There it is. I love that card. Summon to ping a damage and get 2 of these on table in case you have something to destroy one of my units or exhaust one of my units. Having a secondary blocker is actually really important. Yeah. And you can tell, this is what I was saying about once you're on Summon Silver Snake, you have this big unit. We saw last week, I got a bunch of status tokens, had this giant snake threat. In a constructed environment, people include more direct control.
Yeah.
Because
the dream is less real.
I haven't outlined the principles of building a good deck, but there's a set of problems that I think you have to deal with in Ashes, and we may hit all of them by the time I get done with this deck. If you want to consistently be able to win. One of those is big units. You have the Iron Rhino last week. If you don't have a way to deal with the Iron Rhino, you got to exhaust it, you got to destroy it, you got to do something to it.
Yeah, do something.
Reduce its strength somehow. I don't know what the answer is, but you got to have something. You have to be able to control it. And even a Gilder, right? Being able to block it is another way to control the Iron Rhino. Like if you can just get bodies in front of it, you might have a swarm like the Mist Spirits. You have a bunch of those out, and you constantly just cover it up. Anyways, so the next thing that is also in the deck, and another clean cut from a ready spellboard spot, is this Hypnotize. It's a great spell if you're going to have a giant unit, lets them sneak by your opponent's defenses, right?
But how many times do you need to do that?
Yeah, but you almost never need to do that more than once in a round. So this is another example of taking a card that was a 3 of in a deck and actually turning it into a 1 of, especially if you start with it, right? So now we're looking at, we got 3 cards starting in my first 5 so far as we're starting to structure this deck together. And 2 copies of Summon Gilder in the deck. One thing I do, I'll lay out the dice that I'm using on each of these spells, assuming I'm going to use them all in a round. So as an example, 2 on Hypnotize. I need a leaf for Summon Gilder. To play Summon Gilder, I have to spend a heart. Summon Silver Snake, as we mentioned, takes 1 of each of these. Maoni herself and her ability, can you see that? Yeah. Costs 2 dice. And anytime I don't know what kind of dice I'm using yet, I always use Nature because I think it's one of my favorite dice in the game.
And why is that?
One, the power side on Nature is 1 damage to a unit.
Pretty much always good, right?
Even if your opponent's milling you, that's a totally fine. Usually that's a really fine die to have, particularly with the snakes too. I want to remove your units to get status tokens on my snake, right?
Yeah.
So it may not be that these are the dice I end up on, but if I'm just putting a placeholder die, that's the placeholder die.
That's where you do it, yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah. Looking at some other cards, another card I'm a huge fan of, Steven's aware of this, is the Molten Gold card. Speaking of the Nature die, this is a very just potent card for a lot of reasons. You get your opponent down to 3 health, you can just kill them. There's nothing they can do to stop it. But also it can do 3 damage to a unit, right? And so there's a lot of mid-ish big units that are in the 3 or 4 health range. So you can do the kind of thing where you side action with the frog to do damage to a unit and then Molten Gold, hitting for 4. Even the snake itself, right? Having ways to get that thing off of the table, very good. But you can't have too many of these.
These are beautiful foils.
These are from the organized play kit Plaid Hat put out.
Those look good.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Clearly they love the card too.
it's smart to use cards that they think people will use a lot of. You know what I mean? So the thing about Molten Gold, though, is it as good as it is, there is a such thing as too much of a good thing. So you have a 30-card deck. You have a first 5. On turn 2, you're going to draw literally 25% of the rest of your deck. Mm-hmm. And
isn't that crazy?
Most games, you're going to see 3 or 4 total turns, depending on what's going on. So what you don't want in that second hand is 3 Molten Golds. That's just too much Molten Gold. So I've actually cut down.
I didn't think it was possible, but that is too much Molten Gold.
I've cut down to just 2 of, and you'll see why in a second. So when you have a first 5, like I said, you're drawing 25% of your deck every round thereafter. And actually, on the third round, you're a fourth of your deck left you're drawing. So you're going to see most of your cards every time. You have your first 5, you see those every time. But then the other cards, if you have even 2 of in your 25, is pretty good odds you'll see it on either turn 2 or 3. That's a great finisher. That's a great answer. But the other piece of this is options are really important, and how your resources structure in later turns. So I would rather have Molten Gold a little less often and just have other options in hand that can accomplish similar things using different dice or with different abilities. So we'll come back to that in a second. The other thing notable about this pre-con stack to me, and I have all the cards I haven't talked about up here, is the fact that there were no allies. In the pre-con deck I was playing last week, 0 allies.
Yeah.
So you're counting on very, like, your units doing all the work. And in an environment where illusion exists, that's terrifying to me. Cards like Kneel, if they just lock down your board like that and you have nothing else to put out. The other piece of this is coming back, looking at Maoni. Her command strike ability. Exhaust, side action, 2 resources. Choose an unexhausted unit you control, unit being an ally or a conjuration. Deal damage to a target unit equal to the chosen unit's attack value. So the first place I'm looking is, I need an ally I can put into play as an action, and then side action, use her ability immediately, and get value out of it. Because the snake comes in with 0 attack.
Yeah.
So if I could have a snake, and then I could play an ally, use this ability, destroy one of your units, now it also powers up my snake. And eventually a giant snake with Maoni's ability is really good.
We've seen it happen a few times.
Yeah, but it has to be an unexhausted unit too. So if your opponent is putting in tools to deal with the big units, if you just don't get to use her ability because your snake is constantly being exhausted or destroyed, you're losing so much value. So, an oldie, but a goodie. Frostfang is one of my favorite units in the game.
We're going to find the biggest attack number for the lowest amount of dice.
Here we are.
Welcome to Frostfang.
Here we are.
Here we go.
It's 2 leaves, which is the class symbol of the nature die. 3 attack, 1 life, 1 recovery, but also prevents 1 damage from being received every time it would take damage.
Just strangely good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Your opponent can't just use a frog to take it off the table. They've got to spend an actual card to get rid of this. Yeah. And it's really just a great little unit to put into play and immediately use Maoni's ability.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about drinks. Speaking of deck building, this is the key. Thank you. Thank you very much.
If you're otherwise unaware, thank you so much. Cheers to you.
Cheers
to you.
Cheers
to you.
Cheers to everybody.
We are years into developing what we call 3.0, which is a third iteration of our local store. One of the key features that we are adding there is cocktail service, which I'm very excited about.
Tight, focused menu,
high quality.
High quality drinks, very tight, very focused. And so Zach and I, of course, we have to test all of them, which is the sacrifice that we bear as I would say, I guess, founders. Well, Zach is not air quotes founders, but he and I bear that burden as founders of Covenant. While we're here, since we're here, check this out. This is the greatest question when it comes to deck building of all. Like, Zach's covering the design realities, et cetera, et cetera. Lothar, yeah, we'll have plenty of non-alcoholic beverages and probably a mocktail or 2 as well, which of course is the sign of a really good bartender, is somebody who knows how to make a good mocktail as well.
So that everyone can partake even if they don't want to partake.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've got to actually, it's kind of beside the point, but I have a decent amount of friends now who are becoming pregnant.
Yeah.
And so
we're at that age.
So it's like kind of being in the, it feels weird to get to the same atmosphere as you're used to, but then you don't get to enjoy it like everybody else is. It's like, okay, let's have options for everybody.
Totally, man.
But All that said, organizing your ashes collection real quick. You can do it a lot of ways. There's a lot of people with a lot of great ideas on this. I saw whatever Psychopath is doing it by the precons. Did you see that? Yeah. Yeah, in the Ashes channel. I think it may have been Impossible German. Is a high-profile player.
I mean, yeah, he can do whatever he wants.
Binders.
By precon.
But the cool thing is usually it's the perfect spread because you have a 9-slot binder. So you have the Phoenixborn in the middle and then the 8 card slots all around them or something. I don't know. It worked really beautifully. But I would have no idea where any of the cards are if I did that. So what I do, it doesn't have to be super fancy. This is an Ashes Reborn box.
Nick organizes it by precons.
Oh, well, that's how you know it's wrong, right? So I've got these little cardboard dividers, these little guys. Don't know where I got these. I think these came from an Ashes product or some kind. So like this section here is just my summon books. So these are all the books. There you can organize them alphabetically, but why, you know? You can move through them pretty quick. So you've got that, and then you've also got next up, we've got all of the things that get summoned. So I go through there and I can find those. And then the next step, it's like, okay, I need some, what is this? Ready spells. So these are my spell board spells that aren't my summons. So they're all there. And I've got 2 little boxes. All my Reborn boxes carries the whole collection. So that is one way. If you're deck building, that becomes an issue, right? It's like, how do I store my cards? This is one easy way to do it. Just by type. Don't worry about alphabetizing. Keep them with dividers. Easy peasy.
Do you know what this drink is? It's delightful.
I can know in just a second.
It's very citrusy. It's got a lot of orangish. It's not even. I don't even know if it's orange. There's almost. I don't know the fruit.
No, it is exceedingly.
Is it orange?
Orange, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna have a Cointreau or triple second for sure.
Yeah. So to continue our previously scheduled programming, it's really good, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's light and refreshing and a little sweet.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Frostfang, an ally to guarantee I can use Maeoni's ability, is pretty high on my list, and Frostfang is actually consideration for first 5 ability, again, just to make sure that I can use her ability from the get-go. And then beyond that, it's just specific tools for me, right? So there were a lot of stuff that I was using last week that I actually used to pretty great effect. One was open memories. So you can go get a focused version of your a summon spell. I got the focused snake, so I could start with a token. Mm-hmm. To me, open memories is a very specific kind of card. If I look at my first 5, I'm already down to only 2 dice floating.
Are these mine?
Yeah, I'm stacking them up for you over here. Oh, you need one of those? Mm-hmm. It's a very specific tool, and it's got some really cool use cases, which I think you may be going into in a second.
I will be onto that, yeah.
But once I switch out to just 1 silver snake, this card is not as relevant for me, and I don't have the resources to really make use of it in my opening hand. Same with a card like Call Upon the Realms. This is just a fundamentally decent card, but I don't really have much use for it.
And the funny thing is, so if you imagine, what is Call Upon the Realms actually doing, right? So there are 2 use cases for a card like Call Upon the Realms. Because the framework of the game already allows you to change dice types, you're just saving the meditate cost of what it would be to change 3 dice.
Yeah, but you're losing a card anyway.
You're paying a card to prevent milling 3 cards.
Yep.
Which is net 2 cards, which in the Game of Ashes is a pretty significant amount of your deck.
You're also changing dice sides as a main action.
Yeah.
So if you have side actions that you're wanting to do that require certain dice type, that's an interesting choice of a card.
Can be a choice, yeah. But otherwise, just the octane, the potency of a card like this that's already doing something you can do in the framework of the game, it would have to be very specific use case for that to come in.
Yeah.
Or an anti-mill tool if those were really big decks.
For sure. And then just kind of looking at mana. So she does have a spell board of 5. And I've currently got 3 spells. Mm-hmm. So I've only got 2 left. One in the precon was Empower, which I love the art on this card. But ultimately, just placing a status token, and I think if you're going a very ally light strategy, this is way more relevant for the snakes to make sure they can get attack value to do something. But taking up a spellboard slot and a basic die to put on the table, and then a die to place a status token, I would be way more inclined to just put 1 or 2 time dice in, which didn't exist when this card first came out, right? But like if I'm gonna spend all this time and effort and dice to get a status token, there's literally especially if I'm not gonna focus it, there's a die that just does it straight up, which is kind of interesting to me. So I'm just looking for cards that aren't necessarily high on my list, and I went through a whole process and looking at a bunch of lists and different cards and stuff. I do think refresh and transfer are kind of interesting.
What is that process? You just gotta like Ashes Live and just scroll through the card pool?
So I went to Ashes Live, looked at the card pool. I looked at different deck lists. I got some recommendations from Impossible German. I looked at the Discord. And it was just like, what are people doing and why are they doing it, right? And then, I'm also familiar enough with the cards that I have favorite cards that I like. As an example, one card I find a hard time not including is Summon Salamander Monk.
It's 1 unit for 2.
Yeah, so it's an action to play it, and then it's a single empathy. What is it? Empathy?
Sympathy. In fact, apparently they're very different. You talk to my wife. Sympathy versus empathy.
Empathizing is I can feel it. Sympathy is I feel bad for you.
Yeah, it's a more cognitive process, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of sympathy. Empathy is a weak point for me. Because generally I kind of feel nothing. It's like a black void.
I think I'm almost the opposite.
Yeah, I would believe that.
I can empathize with people, but I rarely feel sympathy.
Yeah.
Which, maybe that's some psychological issues that
I said, I did use the word psychopath earlier in the stream. I think does make me an actual psychopath.
Because you used the word?
No, because my empathy threshold, I think, is very, very low.
Oh, really? See,
It's hard for me to empathize. You know why? I've thought about this a lot.
I'm glad
there's
got
two,
this far.
And this is this is a topic for universal therapy, but basically there's a cognitive, and this is a Myers-Briggs thing too, I think, which you would appreciate from like Robert and I's Myers-Briggs versus yours, which is pretty cool. So, and if anybody like runs a business, this is something you did that I thought was super cool, is have everybody, especially in a close team, take some kind of test that at least gives you the idea of like, okay, how are people different in this team? Because it really helped us understand where people would be interpreting problems and kind of coming from on things. But to me, like...
helps you empathize, by the way.
Exactly.
To understand their framework.
It really does. But the cognitive piece of it for me is like, is what somebody is going through the result of choices that they made, like knowingly, willingly, etc., barring extreme circumstances. But it's like, if, for instance, my wife is late in the morning and freaking out because she misplaced her keys, it's hard for me to have empathy for that, because I've said millions of times, just develop a system where you always have your keys in the same place. Walk in the door, put them in the same place. Walk in the door, put them in the same place. So now you're freaking out as the result of things that you're not doing. Yeah. I don't feel a lot of empathy for that. But that apparently is my cross to bear.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, in the same situation, I would feel very little sympathy for it. Yeah. If that makes sense. But I would understand the feeling of not being able to find your keys and running late.
Yeah. And how that's a bummer.
While you caused your situation, I think I would be softer to the person that's experiencing that.
Yeah, you are. You have a nice softness about you.
Nice. I've always said that about myself. I have a nice softness. Back to Ashes. So Salamander Monk, high on my list, and there's a lot of reasons why, right? I was talking about big units and dealing with them. One way is just having bodies on the table. Just having a unit out that can get in front of people, especially efficiently. Like opening of a game, if you put your Iron Rhino spell down, right? And is there the Iron Rhino you can't block if you have a certain health or something?
Yeah, below 1 attack or health, I think.
Yeah, so this solution doesn't work for that problem at all. But if you see me play a Hammer Knight, as a basic example, or let's back it up. Let's say it's my opening. And thinking through my openings. If I put a Summon Salamander Monk down as my first action, doesn't cost me any dice, but I always know I can put a unit on the table for 1 die.
Yeah.
Then that immediately signals to you, it's like, well, if you play a Hammer Knight, I'm just going to summon the Salamander Monk. Yeah. And like, I at least have that counterplay for very cheap, and we'll come back. But just starting to figure out if you want to have recurring value on the table through these spells, what do you want to have access to? And the Salamander Monk is a very popular unit. For obvious reasons, because it comes out for 1, and then if it gets destroyed, you get another unit in its place, and we'll talk more about that in a second. Now, Looking at other tools, right? We have a big unit, and previously the big unit was being taken advantage of, I think, primarily from transfer and refresh.
Yeah, you were like trying to really abuse that going well.
And transfer is nice because, like I was telling you last week, if you had summoned an Iron Rhino, I could use transfer to put the exhaustion from the summon spell to the Rhino.
Yeah.
So it can be used on defense. It can also be used on offense because I attack with the snake and I exhaust. My turn comes, I use this, and I unexhaust the snake. Or you double exhaust the snake. Is it like Steady Gaze? Is that the card?
I think it's Steady Gaze, yeah. That does it. The Aerodol-looking card, yeah. Steady Gaze.
So this is a very utility. That's a really good card when you have a big unit. But I'm looking through the card pool, right, at cards and lists using the snake that have cards to take advantage of one big unit, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So there's a couple that just like stick out like sore thumbs. First one here is Explosive Growth. So
make a big unit bigger.
When attaching the spell, you put 2 status tokens on the unit.
Oh, that's great. +2 strength.
So a snake immediately gets +2 strength. Discard all of the copies of Explosive Growth attached to the unit. X equals the number of its status tokens on this unit. X is its attack.
So you double that ability. Incredible.
So attaching this to a snake means it's +4 strength. So decent on a lot of units, very good immediately on the snake.
Yeah, it's that double dip.
If the snake already has 2 or 3 tokens, you play this, it goes up to 5, and it's a 10 strength snake.
And you would arrive just for kind of new deck builders, right? So you're looking for things to key off of, and what Zach's keyed off of here is, okay, so this snake
100%
needs status tokens. So I'm going to search the card database for anything that says status token, and I guarantee you that's when Explosive Growth pulled up, and then you say, is it in my dice types already? / is it in my short list of dice types to add to my deck so that I can access this card?
Yeah.
You've already got the leaf on Explosive Growth. It's like, well, if I put that sympathy die in there,
well, and that's where you start.
now I got it.
A lot of times when I'm deck building, I will search for specific stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So you see the snake, you're like, okay, status tokens, look. And then you start adding any would-be card to the list, and you have this giant list of cards. And you look here, and it's like, okay, well, if I'm using sympathy, let's say I'm 1 sympathy die in because I want to play this at some point. It's like, well, what other cards do I like that might fit into the strategy that use sympathy? Right? That's where you arrive at cards like Summon Salamander Monk, as an example. There's a couple others, actually. Next one for me is Polarity Mage.
Ooh.
So talking about the allies, this is you see this a lot in a lot of different lists, but has this ability to give and take. When this unit comes into play, you can search your discard pile for an alteration spell and place it into your hand. Or discard a target alteration spell attached to a unit you control. You have a big unit, they attach something really bad to it, that does bad things to it.
Fade away.
Discard
kind of a card, yeah.
Right? Or Explosive Growth, where he talked about being... This is literally, if you're looking at the sympathy dice, after you find Explosive Growth, this unit pops up and can get Explosive Growth back. Because inevitably, one of the ways to deal with the snake is to take it off the board.
Yeah.
Which some decks and people will do. If they do that, Explosive Growth goes away if it's attached. The ability to play this, get Explosive Growth back, very strong.
Kind of constant engine.
Yeah.
Constant threat. Yeah.
Another card, an oldie but a goodie. You gotta love it. Crescendo, one of the best cards in the game. Instant speed reaction when you attack. You discard a card, you spend a sympathy, it does 3 damage to something. So good with Frostfang, particularly because the first unit Frostfang would take gets canceled. These are just good cards that are working in concert together, right, to create a nice synergy.
Yeah, and the reason that Crescendo is just so good generally is that most of your like heavy removal and heavy damage spells are going to be main actions. So like you're going to be able to do something to their board, and then they're going to have a moment where they get action to respond to what you've done. Crescendo, it's happening while you're attacking. So like there's no ability for an opponent to respond to that until the consequences are felt. And so that's why Crescendo is on a lot of lists too, because it activates at a very nice time in the window of the game.
And a basic example, particularly with big units, creating these momentary openings where your opponent can't block you is really powerful. And so you can imagine Explosive Growth comes onto a snake as a side action. All of a sudden a snake's at like 10. Then you attack with the snake. You play a Crescendo in response to you attacking. Snake has 4 health and 3 recovery. So you do a damage to the snake. All of a sudden, their 3 health unit is off the board. And you've got a snake coming in for 10 that maybe they can't even block.
Now they can't block it. Yeah. It could be a game-winning play right there. That's a big blowout play.
And that's why Crescendo is so powerful, ultimately. And then kind of looking down some other pieces of the list. So Crescendo is good enough that I'm on a 3 of a Crescendo.
I think that's perfect.
It's just that good. Another really interesting card that shows up a lot here is Root Armor. So side action and a leaf, already in my magic type. Gives +1 life, and this unit now has the following ability, Armored 1. After it's dealt damage, prevent 1 damage from being received. This is good in a lot of different ways. Snake at 5 health, good.
Better than 4.
Snake at 5 health that prevents 1 damage every time it would take damage. Shuts off, I was talking about the play earlier, that is, use the frog into a Molten Gold to do 4 damage to something.
Yeah.
Use a frog, attack, use your Crescendo to do 4, to get to 4. So that to 5th health, and the damage prevention,
And
if you're going to have a big unit. Very good. This is also fantastic on the Frostfang. 2 health and prevent the first 2 it takes every time.
Yeah.
Like,
good thing to keep in mind. So any of the armored keywords, you just stack the numerals, right? So if you have armored 1 and then you add armored 1, it becomes armored 2, right? So good.
Yeah.
Prevent the first 2 damage.
Then some other neat tricks. Just another big thing that I think you have to be prepared for is the Swarm.
There's really 2. There's kind of, it's the classic 3 things, right? You got big unit.
Yep.
You've got, which we call beef. That's the beef list. And then you've got a bunch of tiny units. There's a swarm, classic swarm template. And then you've got kind of like value in the middle, where you might play like 2 attack, 3 attack kind of stuff and try to exchange value.
And that's where
mid-range.
You can already tell from this list, right? When it comes to big units, I've got big and medium units, right? I think you have Manny's ability. So if you have a 4 strength or higher snake, you can kill most units with her ability.
Yeah.
That's good. Even if you just have a Frostfang, you can do 3 to something immediately. You've also got the Summon Guilders that are pinging for 1 damage. You have the Nature Dice that are pinging for 1. You have the Molten Golds and the Crescendos that are doing 3. So there's a lot of ways for you to remove those mid-sized threats in the deck already. What I don't have a lot of is kill a lot of the stuff on the board.
Yeah.
My 2 favorite AoE spells are Meteor, which I'm not playing. It's the wrong dice type. And then, of course, Asher's Wrath.
The quintessential nature die AoE card.
And just walking through my list, I always do a check. This is the AoE that I do a check against, right? And it fits perfectly in this deck. Frostfang prevents the first damage it takes from anything, so you're not hurting yourself. The Guilders have 2 health, so it's not going to clear your own Guilders. Root Armor is going to prevent 1 damage to anything that it's hitting. The Monks, a lot of times, so Mayoni only has a battlefield of 4. So it's easy for your own battlefield to get full of stuff as well.
Yeah.
And this is a really nice way to get those monks out of the way. You attack with them, they do the stuff, your opponent doesn't block. Especially that monk spirit, because it can't block. Just a really nice way to clear. And then outside that, it's really just very specific tools. And this varies. So this is where some of these are still in the conversation for me. Transfer and refresh, and I wasn't quite done with the decision tree. Things that I thought were really interesting that I am not 100% sure why various decks include. Some decks have this Summon 3-Eyed Owl.
Have you read the 3-Eyed Owl?
Yeah.
That's why they
3-Eyed Owl.
include it.
Action, exhaust, choose a target player to discard a card from their hand. So you put this out. It's in the magic type that I'm already playing. You get a unit that's got 2 life that pressures their hand. I'm less keen on this card in general. I'm sure there's like a high level. I'm in a tournament and like you need this card to kind of pressure them. So that's probably not going to actually end up on my list, but that is in a lot of them. Another one that I think is pretty clever is Amplify. Side action, spend a heart. Choose a target unit you control with an attack value of 0. Add 3 to its attack value for the remainder of the turn.
The old sneaky snake.
Yeah, so it's either the snake or it turns
Or the
Gilder.
Gilder, yeah.
Suddenly, it doesn't look like there's a threat, and then you can just get your opponent. This is the kind of thing I actually don't like. I may end up on one of just as a
Zach Bunn special.
It's a trick, right? It's you don't want your opponent to see you meditate it necessarily, but also if you do meditate and you only have 1, they have to keep this thing in mind, but you don't necessarily have to deliver on it all the time. Same thing I feel about Ice Trap.
Mm-hmm.
Just a generally useful card that's already in the magic types that I'm using. And again, it's about options. When you're drawing 5 up, it's like, do you want a second Nature's Wrath or do you want to have an Ice Trap? Mm-hmm. They solve very different problems, right? And then another one that you see a lot, and this is a card I'm always trying to get into a deck, so once I saw it in a snake list, I was excited about it. This Essence Druid. Spell Recall, when it comes into play, you can search your discard pile for a ready spell and place it into your hand. So if I do meditate, like my 1 copy of something out of play, or if it's focused down, now there's a new, I didn't know this, but if they exhaust your spell.
Mm-hmm. Which would be devastating to the Silver Snake plan, right?
Yeah. then technically I can meditate it off the board, change a die to the side I want, play an essence through it, get it back in hand, put it down, and still get to use it this turn.
That's a pretty common like first 5 trick that you can do to get 2 of a conjuration into play where you otherwise wouldn't be able to.
Especially like you look at something like Summon Salamander Monk, right? They cost 1 to put a unit out. So if you get to put a unit out and meditate with it, not lose a card, and get it back and use it again, there's a lot of value there.
Super strong. We got the community coming through on the owl, of course. I think you'll see it in a lot of lists for this reason, that if you do have it in your first 5, you drop it, you summon it, they have to spend the removal on the owl, or they lose one of their first 5 cards. That's basically how that works.
That's really good.
So then it's like, okay, well, I removed the owl, but now the silver snake's untouchable. Or, you know, because usually you might have 1 removal card in your first 5, if that, to take care of a big threat. So it just gives you a huge advantage because nobody wants to lose 1 out of their first 5. I mean, this is your critical battle plan.
Yeah, that's really true.
Being realized.
That's really powerful. So I'm gonna swap out this.
Thanks, Benjamin. Yeah, we're still, or Brent, we're still sorting it out. We're monitoring or Jonathan's monitoring the robot currently. Saying put a debounce on some words. Bryce 2.0 is going nuts every time you mention meditate. These are the kind of the little things that you got to have the robots work, and then we can make them work well. Don't tell that to my my little robot vacuum at home. That thing never works well. What a waste of time.
What's do you have one? I didn't know you had one.
Yeah, I got one a while back.
And you don't like it?
I don't like anything that is
curious where this is going.
A robot. Very few robots that I like, Zach.
I like Bryce 2.0.
I like the control, you know? Like, I like being able to say, hey, that needs to be vacuumed over there, not mindlessly dance around the house and sometimes work.
So, what you're saying is that you prefer to do it yourself.
I end up doing it myself because I feel it's very ineffective.
I'm trying to find this refresh. So, that's essentially my deck.
You did it.
And it really seemingly comes down to a simple... What's your attack plan? How do you prevent your opponent from stopping that? And then how do you make sure you can deal with the big units, medium-sized units, and a whole bunch of small units?
It's crazy. It's that simple.
Simple as that.
That's the matrix. So over on my end, check this out. I think this is so cool to see. So I've got Cole, and this is the pre-con deck that comes with Cole. And you saw Zach take the Silver Snake idea and build on that for his new constructed deck, utilizing the Silver Snake, which brought in some dice types, which meant that there was a particular game plan that was going to start to happen. So Cole has an ability to deal damage by discarding cards from hand. That's Cole Rourquin's main ability. Is I can basically slash my sword, and that's going to do 1 damage to you. Also has this ability, or this card, 100 Blades. It's 2 basics. Deal the damage to your target Phoenixborn, deal the damage to all units, draw a card. So none of this stuff requires any particular dice types, or really any particular strategies to work well. Because damage is always good, and all of these cards are just doing direct damage to things. So it's like, okay, well, that actually means that Cole can go 1,000 directions. And one such direction, courtesy of our friend Jason, is Cole, the Dreadlord.
Okay.
The corrupted.
Do you have Iron Rhino still?
The Kylo Ren of the adventuring party. So all that I'm keeping from the pre-con.
Oh, man.
Chant of Revenge and 100 Blades.
Those are good cards.
The most Dreadlordy cards that you have. And here's what I'm going to describe the deck as it's described here. So we have, beautifully laid out, first of all, Dreadlord is the cruelest of captains, slashing friend and foe alike, only to resurrect them in service of his grim tide. So the recommended first 5 here are going to be Summon Fallen. So I'm going to grab these, and I like to just look at what my first 5 is going to be. That's going to give me an idea of what the deck's trying to do. Open Memories. Anytime you see Open Memories in a first 5, generally you're wanting to double up one of the spell books right off the bat because it's so important, or it has a focus ability. The Fallen, the Summon Fallen, is really like zombies and reanimation kind of stuff. So my guess is I'm going to be doubling the Fallen book, but I don't know that for sure. We're also going to grab Abundance, which could according to Jason, flex into like Crimson Bomber or Swift Messenger. It looks like it's going to depend on kind of the matchup. Then we've got Recollect or Fire Archer as an option, Crimson Bomber or Swift Messenger as an option. So the robot is going to have a hard time with that one. But let's start by looking at Crimson Bomber and Swift Messenger. I'll get these out. And this is what like good decks actually look like this, where you have basically a first 5 that is starting to move a little bit based on the matchup that you find yourself in. And so we've been given options for what we might have. What's crazy is like, I have 1 Crimson Bomber in this deck. So this 1 Crimson Bomber is typically, I think, here so that I can first 5 into it in certain matchups. I have 1 Recollect in the deck.
Yeah.
Similar,
you also have ceremonial dice, right?
Similar situation, yeah.
So you can't get the Crimson Bomber back.
You can't get the Bomber back, yeah. So let's see what Summon Fallen does. So Fallen, which I'll go grab since I have my nicely organized normal cards. Let's go see what this Fallen Conjuration is up to. And that's going to give us an idea of what our deck's all about. And spoiler alert, it's zombies.
There be zombies.
Fallen and refallen and fallen again, only to fall more times. And like I said, the only cards staying in this deck are Cole's signature card and then the Chanter Revenge. And then aside from that, it's totally different. And that's one of the craziest things about Ashes.
Yeah.
Is that like I can take this Phoenixborn and build an insanely different deck. Like it's so different that the exploration is just tremendous.
Where's Cole at?
Right here. He's just the discard a card, deal a damage.
No dice type specific.
No dice types
even
at all.
His signature is no dice types.
Not one. Okay, so let's look at Fallen. It says it's a 1/1/1 unit, which is kind of, I always love these 1/1/1s with the recover. Infectious damage dealt by this unit attacking or countering cannot be prevented. Well, that's good. Oh, that's going to be so good against this armored stuff that Zach's doing. It's going to bamboozle him to the max. I'm not even going to read this card for him again because it's going to be so funny to watch his reaction to this. Okay, so we've got Fallen. Now we can have, according to the little number in the bottom left, 7 of these units out, which gives us a hint that we probably want to do that. So I'm going to keep these off to the side. And let's go over to Jason's blog here. It says, Summon Fallen is an incredibly potent card that can absolutely take over the board. The Fallen engine needs several pieces to work correctly. A way to get the second Fallen book as soon as possible, so that's where our Open Memories first 5 is going to come in. So it's going to give us 2 Summon Fallen off the bat. It also needs a ton of allies, since we've got 11 in the deck. And it needs ways to reliably make sure that those allies actually die. And it turns out Cole has a handy dandy way to do that right on his Phoenixborn card. So we can actually use Cole Rourkwin's ability to damage our own stuff, which is then, if we look at Summon Fallen, the ready spell, the spellboard spell, it says after an ally you control is destroyed, place a status token on the spell, and then you spend a knife and you remove a status token for each copy of Summon Fallen you control. Place 1 on your battlefield for each status token removed. So remember, you trigger this book, but you can remove up to 1 from each copy of the book you control. So if I have 2 Summon Fallen books out, I can use one's ability and do both, and then I can use the other's ability and do both. So that's actually going to be very relevant for bringing this zombie horde back up. Jason goes on to say the Fallen speak for themselves, but there's more going on as well. Abundance Cole is kind of its own archetype anyway, and it's a ton of fun. You'll get tons of opportunities to use those cards to slash away at everything, even your own things if you have to. So if we look at Abundance, all players draw up to 2 cards. So that's going to give Cole 2 cards. A lot of Phoenixborn aren't able to use that many cards because they're limited to their 10 dice. But Cole has that ability where I can discard a card to do a damage. So Abundance is always going to be a good choice here. You have a secondary burn plan with Final Cry and 100 Blades. So 100 does deal damage directly to target Phoenixborn. We also have Final Cry, which is in my stack here too that I've got, which I believe is when something leaves, yeah. So after a unit you control is destroyed, deal 2 damage to target Phoenixborn. So I can slash my own stuff, Final Cry to deal 2. Then I can keep coming out with these 100 blades, clear the board, play more Final Cries, do a ton of direct damage. Well, that's going to be super fun. You also have a cheeky first 5 flex. If you think your opponent might start slow, meditate into Recollect for Fallen Book 2, and then use Open Memories to get Book 3. So if we look at Recollect, it is an action spell, 1 time die. Choose a ready spell you control, search your discard pile for all cards with the same title, and place them into your hand. So, we play the Summon Fallen, we discard it, we recollect it, we open memories it. No, there's got to be a there. I'm missing the thing. You guys will figure this out for me in a second. Meditate into Recollect for Fallen Book 2. Then use Open Memories to get Book 3. Wow. Okay, I'm going to have to look at that. And then we can also do the Crimson Bomber Swift Messenger flex here. Now, Jason says this is a Fallen deck. It can be hard to pilot, and you have to be very careful in round 1, but if you can consistently find ways to leverage Cole's ability, the sky's the limit. So I'm going to play this poorly. And this is it. And so here we go. We've got Summon Fallen. I'm going to put these over here. They'll replace our Iron Rhino, let's say. We've got Fire Archers. We've got Stormwind Snipers. Standard Bearer. Beautiful Psychic Vampire. Reclaim Soul. And the Bugatti card, Fester. One of the absolute best cards in this game because it removes anything. And removing anything is great in all games. It's the only thing you need to know.
Part of the sentence I just heard you say.
Yeah. So what's crazy, so I'm looking at this Recollect card. Mm-hmm. So this is what Jason says. I think I understand what you do. So if you think your opponent might start slow, you can meditate into Recollect for Fallen Book 2. So if I meditate enough off the top of my deck and I hit a Summon Fallen book, then I can Recollect and play it as my second one, and then I can Open Memories to hit the third one. So I could start with 3 Fallen, but I guess it really just depends on where that Summon Fallen book is in your meditate, right? Can you
Because it could be the bottom 2 cards of your deck, right?
Can you meditate without changing dice?
I don't think so, but you can change to any side, right?
You can just keep meditating.
I also think, like, okay, let's say you meditate 5 or 6 times to get 6 power dice that are really powerful. Meditating allies with ceremonial, that's a fine thing to do.
Because you can just churn, basically, yeah.
And if you hit a spell in the first 5 or 10 cards, then you can get your triple. And you would meditate before playing Open Memories, of course?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, that's the kind of thing that Steven won't be doing.
Yeah. That's kind of how I feel about that owl. I get how powerful a Summon 3-eyed owl is to start, because you're potentially taking away one of their first 5 unless they waste the card on removing it. But I also I'm not a bird.
I'm not a bird guy.
Bird man. Not those kind of birds. I like the Omen Bringer. That's my bird.
Okay, so we're going to take this entire Dreadlord deck, and we're going to unsleeve our old precon.
Yep.
And replace it with a brand new Cole, a totally new realization. And so, you think about it, how fun is this, right? You have precon Cole, and then you can make this version that's a Cole as like a Dreadlord who's summoning these zombies. Then I can make a version of Cole that is all about like summoning those Squall Stallions and drawing me cards with water horses.
Birds and butterflies.
You could do it a million different ways, and this is what we mean when we're talking about how wide open deck building is for Ashes.
Yeah.
It is incredible. And
you know,
you can accomplish.
I think going from the top down again, like first 5 is super critical, and you can include a lot of cards in your first 5 that you only have 1 copy of. You can also include cards in your main deck that are only for very specific potential matchups. You see a certain hero, whatever it's going to be, and because you can change your first 5 based on who your opponent's playing. And then in your deck, it's just good to keep in mind that obviously you have whatever the core thing you're trying to do is.
Yeah.
In my case, Big Snake, lots of tokens, sending through with like a Hypnotize or clearing your board with like a Crescendo, that kind of thing. then you also have to be able to deal with certain problems. And I think it's the massive amount of units, the very big scary unit, whether it's a snake with a lot of tokens or an iron rhino or that kind of thing. And then a couple of those beef units, you know, I think that mid-range play is a lot of people do that. It's like Hammer Knight and Celestial Knight. And it's just like, this is so much to deal with.
The constant beef.
Yeah. And then you play cards you love. I mean, I think that's the other. For me, if I get to play a Gilder, I'm happy.
The other thing too, just to understand, kind of keep in mind about Ashes, if you start playing at like a fairly high like tournament level, it can be a very difficult game to win because there's so much control that players have over the outcome of a game, particularly the deck building, and then bringing that into the first 5. That if you're a less experienced player playing against somebody who has a ton of experience, it might just be a blowout. Yeah. Like that happens all of the time. And so, a lot of card games have a lot more variance. Let's say you have the 60 or the 80 card deck and you're drawing a hand of 5 cards, and the general power level of cards is only so much because they're kind of randomly showing up, and there's not a lot of synergies that are going to make them greater than the sum of their parts. You're just playing good value cards, and you're drawing, and you're going to play a little bit less good than the other player, but it's not going to be like blowout style. So in Ashes, because you start with full control over that opening hand, like so many games can start there and be like, by the end of the first turn, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm way behind, and like oftentimes there's not a lot you can do to catch up. So it can be a very, I don't want to say visceral, but we compare it to chess a lot here on the stream, which is overdone in 1,000 different ways. But
really though,
it's move by move. And you're gaining or losing advantage with these moves. And just like if you get to the mid game in chess and you're 16 pieces down, I guess that would be, you're definitely losing there. But let's say you're 3 to 4 pieces down, you're down material. It's equally as unforgiving as like, how to dig out of this? I don't know.
Yeah, because it's not the kind of game where your resources and board position grow over time on like an upward curve trend.
Yeah.
And if you fall behind your opponent's curve, you can catch up a lot of times. It's more, that's why part of what makes it feel so much like chess is like once you start losing pieces and tempo and board positioning, it becomes ever more difficult to get back in.
Yeah.
So like chess, getting one piece ahead sometimes is such a significant advantage.
Right?
Because that's the snowball, right?
That causes a concession a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Oh, you took a piece and I didn't? Okay, well, this game's over.
That's right, Oxfordor saying promo Mayoni. It's the version of Mayoni I'm playing. If you're unaware, next week, I think, is the week we're doing it. But the third part of this series, we're going to be covering how to play Ashes online. One of those ways is through our Discord league, which is a webcam league, where if you participate 8 of the 12 weeks in a league, you get some participation promos that are pretty cool like that, Mayoni. Big fan.
Well, let's see what happens here, huh?
Let's do it. I think it'll also be a good comparison, just going from those pre-cons last week and kind of seeing what they're doing and how they're doing it, and then seeing 2
tweaked decks,
a little more tuned decks, as they say.
Quite a bit more tuned.
Chris asking, we're covering how drafting works. We're not planning on doing that at this point, but you never know.
We did draft this a long time ago.
A long time ago. Those rules are in the master set. I'm excited to see what this
I need to look at my dice.
Dread Coal is all about.
Yeah, I think I'm just summoning zombies.
Another ceremonial.
And then apparently it's like hard to
charm.
play, so obviously I'll be great at it.
Yeah, of course.
I could use, man, if you got it, 6 ceremonial, 1 charm, 1 illusion, 2 time.
Oh, come on.
That's how you know you're in a different league.
Yeah, when you're running 4 dice colors.
Yeah.
I believe that's what you requested.
That's right. Nailed it. Thanks.
I too can listen. time to time. What'd he say?
Okay, check this
Let's
out.
line this up in the center. Let's get this. Those lines are really cool.
Helpful, aren't they? Brand value.
Would you like to get bit by a snake?
Nope. You'll have plenty of opportunities, though, to eat stuff, because I've got tons of zombies.
This is my dice spread is one of my favorites. The 4-4-2.
Yeah, it's classic 4-4-2.
It's a good split. This is madness.
This is madness, yeah.
Ready to roll?
I'm ready. So beginning of the game, roll your dice. Whoever has the least basics chooses first or second.
Whoever has the most basics.
That's right. The least good dice.
The worst roll.
I'll just put these here.
I got 4 basics. How about you?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Roll them up.
Slap them up, boys. Oof. 5. Did we see these dice before we choose our first 5?
I don't think so. 3.
Would you like to go first or second?
You get to choose.
Would you like to go first or second, Steven? You didn't let me finish.
I see.
What's the best thing? Do we decide? I always like going second.
I mean, so important decision here is who's going first on the second round. So if you think you're going to have more of a presence on round 2 than me, you know what I mean? Like, do you want to go? Really, do you want to go first next round?
Yeah, I want to go first next round. I think.
Right.
So
So you're forcing me to go first. Also, sometimes people have like a really big threat. They can just immediately play action 1
Yeah,
and force their opponent to respond.
but you've just got old-fashioned snakes.
Yeah. I'm going to play a Summon Salamander Monk, and then we're going to meditate. I need a snake. I mean a frog.
We've got them on the monitor, Oxyridor. And we were lining those up with the mat as well, so it's kind of a full show.
Alright. I played a Summon Salamander Monk, and I meditated.
Okay, so if we've got 1, 2, oh my gosh, this is gonna be nuts. Okay, well, I know one thing that I'm supposed to do, and it's supposed to be playing Summon Fallen. So I'm gonna do that. And then side action, let's see, what do we need? We don't really need anything. I'll meditate 1 here. Goat.
The goat.
Meditate to goat.
Over to me.
Yeah.
Main action, Summon Gilder. Being played. I won't actually use it. I'll pass back to you.
Okay. Play Open Memories. Let's go here and here.
Swarm.
How does time die? Does that put a status on a unit or any card?
A unit.
Sure it's on the unit?
No.
Time magic? Time dice? Time magic? How does time magic work? Let's see if the robot can do it. Time magic card?
I don't think that's going to work.
No, I don't think I have it at all.
Our friends.
Oh my gosh, it's right there. Hold on, I gotta go read it.
Look at that. Genius.
Could have been manual, you never know. Target unit you control.
See, I knew I was right.
Yeah.
Couldn't you feel my confidence?
Mm-hmm. Open Memory's gonna go get a book. I guess I should do all that first. I don't show it to you, do I?
You surely have to. If it's, oh, it's any card.
Nope, any card.
Cancel it. We recently recorded an episode of our podcast as part of our Power 7 series with lead developer Nick Conley talking about denial, right? That was his
I think
topic.
it was denial, yeah.
If you're watching this in the future, check out the How to Ruin a Game series on the Kevin Cast.
Bum, bum, bum.
All right, mine?
Yeah.
Well, let's keep on dirtling. Summon Silver Snake. Over to you.
It's a classic dirtle, really. You can't out-dirtle the zombie deck, though.
That would be sad if I could. Zombies are built for dirtling.
Let's play another Summon Fallen. And meditate 1. Here.
We will summon a salamander monk. Love those guys.
I'm going to have a response to that. We got a Swift Messenger. Has Swift, after unit comes into play in your opponent's battlefield, play this from your hand without paying its main action cost.
Ah,
And then assist 1 when it comes into play, draw a card.
nice. Over to you.
Ooh, that's good.
We're ashesing now.
Yeah, we really are.
Dysphoria, did you ask Lucas about recursion?
Yes, in fact, we did.
In fact, we did. It was excellent. It was really good to talk to Lucas again. It's cool. So it's like 7 episodes featuring designers from all across time and space and the industry, and 7 cool design topics that usually get game developers into trouble in the long run.
We're going to side action this Chant of Revenge.
I see. You want me to kill your allies. Then you get all these tokens.
And then we're going to main action Abundance.
Oh my god. Can I read all these?
Yep.
Okay. He's already done his business. 1 card left. You could make us draw though, so I don't want to spend too many.
Samuel, so there's only one. You might want to do that. It depends. So my math on this is, I don't want to be in a position where I'm the first 3 to 4 turns I'm doing all of these things without having the Fallen books in, because if Zach plays a big threat, I won't be able to play an ally and then get those Fallen status tokens if he blows that ally up. So my goal here was just get the Summon Fallen books in quickly. If I do end up drawing a 3rd one, then I can just play that one too, which is great. But this allows me to like have Swift Messenger out, a big threat comes through, at least I get the value of the Fallen books if that ally gets taken out.
On that note, we're going to go ahead and summon a Silver Snake. Using a snake and a frog. Over
The old Silver Snake, huh?
Maxwell Silver Snake.
Look at all those dice you've got. What do you got in that hand, man? You got a lot in that hand. That's pretty crazy.
What have you even done?
What have you even done? Yeah. Let's find out.
Bet to let us both draw 2?
I think so.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Yeah, I think so. These are actually going to be really important. So I'm going to play the Fire Archer here. So it's going to be, comes into play, deal a damage to target Phoenixborn, which I will do.
Oof. Who's burning now?
And then I'm going to side action meditate. 100 blades there. And pass it over to you.
You have no cards in hand?
Nope.
Alright, let's summon a Frostfang. Over to you.
FF. Okay, I'm going to use Abundance, have both players draw 2 cards.
Interesting.
See, I've given you more options, so now you're confused.
Yeah, I am a little confused. This is not the plan.
That's the real power of Abundance. It's like I had a real nice first 5 plan here.
Alright. Sure. Salamander Monk is going to attack your Swift Messenger.
You got it. I'll counter.
So they go away. I get a token on the snack.
Alright, we got 1 on Change of Revenge.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 1 on each of these Summon Fallens.
What have I done?
Okay. Then let's see where this goes. I'm gonna go and use one of those Summoned Fallens.
Okay.
Can remove up to 1 from each to summon 2.
Oof.
Tell your Frostfangs to watch out. Their damage cannot be prevented. They are infectious.
Gross. Monk Spirit will attack into one of your fallen.
That's interesting.
Just collecting tokens for my snake.
I'm gonna call that one.
Alright.
Okay. Let's go. Fallen on Frostfang there.
Let's block with Manny.
You got it.
She'll take the disease.
I've got a disease. Wait a while. Then I'm gonna side action and go ahead and remove 1, deal 1 damage to target Phoenixborn from Chant of Revenge.
And you're exhausted to do that, right?
Yeah.
Just thinking. Okay. We'll use Mayoni. 2 basics. And then the Frostfang will do 3 damage to your Fallen.
Okay.
I'll get a token on Snake.
Okay. Let's do a psychic vampire ally.
Okay. Interesting.
I see this now. Okay. I always forget the exhaust rule. Okay. Fine. Yeah, so psychic vampires here. And then side action. Let's do...
Banana asking, you guys still run the Ashes League? I'd like to get in on it. Yeah, so it happens every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central Time. You can be on the Discord channel. Anyone's welcome to be there and hang out. If you're officially a member of the league, you can sign up on our website. It's $30 for 3 months, which is every Wednesday, so 12 weeks technically. And if you play 8 of those 12, you get the promos. The next league technically starts June 1st, so you can sign up and you won't officially be a part until June 1st. But there's always people looking to play games on Wednesday nights. People have until 8:15 Central Time to be at their table on our Discord channel. If they're not, anyone whose opponent doesn't show up is usually looking for a game, and then there's also other people hanging out.
That's a good question. I gotta think about this. Do I want to meditate or not? I can do one meditate here. And pass it over. Yeah, it's over webcam, Chris.
I guess so. We'll do it on my terms. Frostfang into your vampire.
And I will counter.
Yeah. Get a token on the snake. He's getting
Token
beefy.
on the fallen.
Okay. Over to you. Oxford is saying, have Season 5 promos been announced yet? I do not think so. But I do believe on next week's episode, where we're talking about Plan Online, we will be showing some of those promos. I'm very excited about some of the cards coming in this next batch of promos.
Okay. I get you. I get you. You gotta wait on these fallen. Stack up those status tokens.
Yeah.
I will never not forget that you blank a card when you exhaust it.
Yep.
Not once in my life will I
Easy
not
to
forget
forget.
that. I will forget that.
When a card has an exhaustion on it, unless it has an inexhaustible ability, like on Silver Snake, you'll see the kind of X-looking infinite sign with the box over the text or behind the text. That means that it's still active even while it's exhausted.
And do you discard a card for this guy?
Oh, no, but I can't.
Okay. Can place one. Clear turns phase. Interesting. Okay. All right. Cool.
Oh, you know what's interesting?
What?
Notice there's a non-exhaustion symbol on triggering this.
Oh, perfect. I guess that's how they work. I was like, I think they work like that. Yeah, it's just a main action.
Yeah.
Right.
Whew, that card is bonk city.
Yeah. Like, I think I've seen you do this before, but... I'm in kind of an interesting spot, because, like, you don't want to meditate your third Fallen book away. Really. It's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
The Recollect is in here as well. So...
I recollect that's a problem.
So I can't go get it.
What are the odds there, right? 1 in 20, 5%?
Yeah. Yeah, good question, right? I don't know. I don't know what the odds are. So you attack with Frostfang. Let's see. Did we just bring Fallen Army into town? Are we assuming Nature's Wrath is happening? It's a fair assumption. What do the Fallen get us? What do they get us? We keep churning. Yeah, sure. Let's see what's up. Let's get the Fallen going.
Alright. Over to me.
I'm gonna go ahead and meditate this one.
He's a wild man.
What you gonna do?
No, yeah.
Chaos Theory saying Snake versus Fallen is an interesting matchup too. AoE wiping out Fallen can supercharge the Snake.
Yeah.
May have stumbled into a problematic issue here.
You can have 7 fallen. What's your battlefield? 6?
Battlefield is 6, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's better. Okay. I will summon a Giller. We'll ping one of your fallen for 1 damage.
Okay.
I'll get a token on the snake.
The Snake.
You still got that fester in hand, don't you?
Oh, I don't know.
I see. I know what you're up to, Mr. Wooly.
I don't know. Let's see, coming around to me at the top of the round. You're not really threatening anything crazy. Could have one of those Krishna. You can't play that Krishna. You got the Golden Veil sitting there though, don't you? You got a Gilder. Don't really want to do anything with that. Fallen is going to swing at Meoni.
Take 1.
Taurus Idiot is so good. Second attempt at Bryce 2.0. Broadcasting real-time your cards experience.
Love it.
Super good.
Oh.
Exerter says, my Fallen deck versus Snake gets destroyed every time, but I'm not impossible German.
I'll pass.
An impasse. I see. Well, that's a great question. I think we leave it. Yeah, I'll pass.
Yeah, I agree. And remember, you got to roll before deciding what you discard.
That's right.
That changes any of your math. Need mo frogs. Basic thing, you're gonna cut it.
Need more frogs. It's things you only hear in Ashes Reborn. I'm gonna hold on to that card, I think. Okie dokie. Very cool. Okay. I get the first action, eh?
Yep. Eh.
What are we gonna do about that snake?
He big.
I have some ideas, but you know, you got that golden veil, so I've gotta kind of take her easy.
You gotta have multiple ideas.
I gotta take her easy. Okay. The pressure's really gonna be on you here. Let's start with some basics. Fallen Army gonna get some work in here. Battlefield is 4.
Little baby battlefield.
It's a babe. It's a babe. Fallen is going to attack Meoni.
Take one. The Horde.
And then side action, we will pass.
Subminer Monk is going to attack your Fire Usher.
I'll counter.
Okay. And then let me see if I want to meditate. Gotta meditate here.
It's like crescendo to me.
I really don't know what you're talking about. Let's go ahead and go.
Oh, there's one right on top there. What do you mean you don't know what I mean? I see it right there.
It's definitely not in my deck, though. Yeah. And then we'll go ahead and meditate here into Snake. Okay. Over to you.
Okay. Let's play a Stormwind Sniper. Comes into play, I'm going to do one to your Phoenixborn.
Look at you, Mr. Burn.
Mr. Burns. And then I'm going to do a Ceremonial side action. Take a damage and get a unit back. It's going to be the Swift Messenger.
How does he read?
Whenever you play a unit, I can bring it in without paying the main action cost.
Okay. I'm going to play Essence Druid.
Beauty.
She's a beaut. Let's see. When it comes into play, actually, I'm going to back that up. Let me do the math.
I got to spin my dice correctly.
Let's go here. And trigger ability. Put Hypnotize in my hand.
Hypnotize. Okay. I'm going to respond with the old Swift Messenger. And I'm going to do that again.
Disgusting.
Draw twice there.
Alright, mine.
Still yours, your side action, man.
Oh, I'll pass. Forgot you were playing on my turn again.
That's
How'd that
right.
work? Can you do mine? You probably can. Reactions, you're going to do one up, but it's not a reaction.
I don't think it is, but maybe, is that the new, that might be the new symbol for that being a reaction. I can't remember. So it is a reaction, yeah. Okay.
Uh-huh.
It's on the unit.
And you draw a card when he comes into play or something?
So that was the draw. We'll do it again next turn. Let's do a side action. Let's see, a meditate situation probably. Disease. Swift Master is going to swing at Mayoni for one.
We'll take it. Playing the long game now.
Side action, I'm going to meditate one to a goat.
I'll play Hypnotize.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Open these units. Yeah. Let's do this. I think I need things. You got a big swing, potentially. Choose a target unit. It can't be blocked. Okay.
Pretty good. And then you were first this round?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was. Let's swing Fallen at Silver Snake.
Don't like that. He's up to no good. Started making trouble in his neighborhood. I'll block with a Gilder.
Okay.
Take one. And then I have to counter if I block?
Yeah. If you guard, yeah.
Let's think about my life. Let's summon a Gilder. And we'll ping your sniper.
Okay. Couple things gonna happen. Sniper gets pinged.
Get a status token.
Summon Fallen, summon Fallen. I'm gonna play another Swift Messenger. And then draw a card.
Will Stevens says, "What's the name of the website Steven was using? Impossible German gives me a whole lot of things." Yeah, I would do Impossible German Ash's Adventuring Party.
Ash's Adventuring Party decks. You'll get there. Oh, Sniper can't be targeted. That's right.
Oh,
Can't be targeted by attack, spells, abilities, or dice powers and opponent controls.
back it up. Back it up.
Back it up. Back it in. Let me begin.
He's a sniper.
You get it? Yeah, he's in like a position. See how easy that was? Correct the board state. Legacy of, on it. Thank you. Gotta read things. I was not reading them because I was happy to get the tokens, but... It's a slow burn today. Ashes goes deep, y'all. It's insane.
Let's attack Cole with my Essence Druid. This game's incredible.
Yeah. Attack Cole with the Essence Druid. That's interesting. For 2? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Okay, let's do the following. Yeah, okay. Units there. That's not ideal. Inheritance, doing some things. I'm gonna play Reclaim Soul. I'm gonna destroy a Swift Messenger I control to remove 2 wound tokens. And I'm gonna get 2 status tokens on my Fallen collectively.
So good.
And then I'll pass my side action.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Stevens, my master set arrives tomorrow, and I'm hoping this will be the bridge game to my love of card play and my kids' love of rolling dice. It is perfect for that purpose. So good. Chaos Theory says, Ashes Reborn just continually blows my mind every time I play it. Played an insane tournament last night against Philly Cheese where we went to sudden death and I won with 1 life remaining. That ain't easy. The cheese is real.
All right, let's make you do something. Why don't we? I'm going to commit.
All right, let's go.
Don't like it. Here we are. We're going to put an explosive growth here on my friend the snake.
It's a big snake.
He's going to get 2 tokens. And now he's getting 2 attack for each token. So he's at 12 total strength. Main action.
That's a lot.
Will be to pass.
Blocked or guarded? Well, can't be blocked or guarded. Not much I can do about
That's
that.
a big old punch. If you hadn't healed 2, I was looking at like he's gonna have to have something wily here. Castation, when the game got down to us each meditating away our spell board in order to play our last 3 cards in hand before we dive to fatigue, it was wild. Yeah, you gotta love that stuff.
We don't currently have a side action. No, we don't. Okay. So let's hit a Summon Fallen button. A couple of these boys out. And then I'll pass it on over.
This is wild. What could you have? You could have something. Makes me a little nervous though. Alright. I guess we'll do it. Let's go Nature's Wrath. One to everything on the board. Gilder goes away, get a token. Get 5 more because of your 5 things that go away. It's the beefiest snake I've ever owned.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna need to find some cards.
He does have a damage on him, so that's a thing.
That do something. Let's see.
It's actually a 24 damage snake swing, Chaos Theory. What? Oh my goodness.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Steven's gonna go to the bathroom break real quick.
I feel like this might be a bit of a bad matchup here. Okay. Well.
Oh, ludicrous.
I guess I'll react there with a final cry. Deal 2 damage to your Phoenixborn there.
Alright. I dig it.
Then my main action here. Are there any cards that just completely prevent all damage to your Phoenixborn?
You know, there is actually one. Redirect?
You gotta have things out though, right?
Yeah. But can you imagine 24 damage you've redirected into like one of your fallen or something?
That seems like an important card to have in this list, huh? Okay. Let's see. We can give you -1 strength with that charm die. You can add or remove a status token. You've got Golden Veil. So there's no direct removal you had in your opening hand.
I did. I had it the whole time. We were just waiting on it.
That's abundance. Let's see what maybe we could have gotten.
All right. Waste draw 2.
Yeah. And then we'll. I don't have any way to like deal. No, I don't.
Chaos Theory saying if you had another damage, you could get him with the 100 blades plus slash. Just for you. For the second week in a row, Steven goes to the bathroom and does not return.
Yeah. So yeah, I could see how you would have to. I think. Well, but it's got to be on the same turn because that recover 3 is a problem. That's why I wasn't trying to stack up.
Yeah.
Last time.
By getting like
between Gilder and Mayoni block, it's difficult to get that damage on there.
Yeah.
Let's do a Swift Messenger. Just on time. Draw a card.
Right when you need them.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do a Hypnotize. And we got a 24 damage snake coming at your Phoenixborn.
You got me.
Can't be blocked.
I will not block it.
But you can tell, so like, if you compare my deck to last week's deck, this is obviously on like...
I think it's functioning quite a bit better.
Way different, right?
Yeah.
And you don't even get to see all of it, but like my main line of attack that I was doing was working. But the options that are actually available to me here for like, if you did deal with a snake, like I'm not just dead in the water.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously Snake versus Swarm is probably going to be a good matchup for you, like kind of no matter what form that takes. I think if I were taking this further, I'd probably be needing some better like big unit control. Might just have to understand that you have to play to get damage on and start slashing that snake every chance I get.
And
and just ditch the hand to do that.
And even just the play the festers to make me use the golden veil.
I just drew my first one, unfortunately.
I thought you had it in your opening, but you thought I had a golden veil, so it wasn't worth the time.
Yeah, I was playing to you thinking I had the fester.
Well, that works.
Which, of course, yeah, that does work. So you could get on a double fester. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. There's a lot of direct damage in here to the Phoenixborn. So what it wants to do is slow the game down, and then it's just a burn deck.
Yeah.
It's just a burn. It can't get through all my stuff deck. So a big unit that can't be blocked is kind of a difficult problem.
And you don't really have, looking at your dice types, you don't have exhaustion. Because you have one illusion. So like,
I'm surprised redirect isn't in here. That's something that I would at least consider. Like, it's currently got Reclaim Souls, destroy a unit, remove 2 wound tokens. I feel like redirect could go in a similar slot. And also, we've already got Cole that can slash and remove units, so I'm not too worried about that. I think redirect is probably going to gain you more life than Reclaim Soul for the same dice and same card type.
And redirect would kind of answer the big unit problem.
Yeah, a little bit.
At least in the short term.
Be a little trickier at least. It's just one knife on redirect.
I think it's a heart.
Oh, is it a heart?
Yeah, but you had the Trumbo sitting there.
Yeah, I did, but that's interesting. I thought redirect was the knife. But you can see it. I mean, you can see exactly what's supposed to happen here. And then it's got cheeky standard bearers too, which is quite good. That's your win condition, ultimately, which I think is an important thing to kind of try to suss out if you're going through the adventuring party route, of course. Like standard bearer plus 4 fallen, 5 fallen, or something like that can become quite good.
Yeah. Just beefing them over time. So I was actually looking at it, and of course, I did have Gilder and Maoni and the ability to summon, like even there, I could summon another Gilder. I had another summon Gilder in hand. I was kind of just saving. The whole deck is built to protect the snake.
Right.
And I think the constructed version, honestly, just for a comparable, is protect the snake, but then have other things that can... You won't be as threatening as a snake. But perfect example is the... what's that unit I love so much? I can't remember the name. Frostfang.
Yeah.
So this is like a mid-tier unit that's not... It can't be as big as the snake, but it's at least something. Because the other reality that was set up, I was looking at your dice, and it was like, well, he could summon some big things right here. But I have Maoni's ability sitting here.
Yeah.
So once a snake gets to like 4 or 5 tokens...
Yeah, you got to do something. Like my best out is like... I was looking at like an illusion die to drop your snake down, side action and then fester. So that is an option. I didn't hit the fester until just now, so I didn't have that option. But if you do see that like early, that's a good. If you're sitting only on 1 snake, unfortunately you're on 2 snakes that last cycle. So as long as you're on 2 snakes, that kind of evaporates.
Because the wolf turns how many down?
1. I think it's just 1. It used to be, maybe it's 2 down now. I think it's 2 down. Is it 2 down now? It used to be remove 1, and now I think it's flipped 2 down. So that is a good point. That's a powerful. That's probably the reason that exists. Yeah. There's all these tiny things where, like, if you're a new player, you pick up an adventuring party deck. You're going to need 20 plays before you really see why these dice exist where they do. And then I also think, talking about like maybe like doing more damage single unit to the snake, I think
2 dice turn them down 1 side. By the way.
The tough part about damage to the snake is that recover 3 value.
Yeah.
So between Maoni blocking and summoning up to 2 having up to 2 Gulders in a turn, and then anything else you might have that like is protecting that snake. My concern was that I would do 2 or 3, you would recover it all, and it would all be wasted. So that was tough.
But what I do like because you have abundance to get 2 extra cards, right? And then you can use Cole's ability to ping damage in.
Yeah,
for
start
cards.
slashing. Yeah,
and I can't block that.
Yeah.
So I think the wolf route to move my, you can do 2 snakes down at the same time. Once you have the damage on, is really convenient. And then
just constantly like threaten, fester.
Yeah, and you know, I'm gonna have 3 golden veils in the deck. If I have 1 in hand, you're gonna have to eat through those. But that's where it's like I don't even know. You'd have to have something else on the same turn to actually make it happen.
It's doable. I think you just need to keep pressuring it. It's tough to give up 4 cards for that unit that comes right back out and the engine starts again.
Yeah.
So like you have to turn that engine off and then do something with that opening before you start working on turning it off again.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing, because your first turn is actually the weakest because you're having to set up all your books. And so that's technically when the snake is the least threatening.
Yeah.
And going from that into like, okay, we're going to remove it on the first turn, then you're just going to summon again. It's the same problem.
Yeah. You kind of want to remove it after it's been built up a little bit.
You got to let it sit for a little bit, and then you build it up, and then you destroy it. But you need to have board presence when it's getting destroyed.
Yeah.
So that then that opening creates something that actually gains you advantage.
Yeah. And you need to have, you have some nice things here because you have the abundance to get extra cards. So you can get multiple... even if you don't have the wolf to remove my golden veil opportunity, either being able to cancel my golden veil because you remove the snakes, or just having 2 answers.
Yeah.
Fester plus, I don't know. Do you have molten golden there?
Plus X now.
Yeah, like, no, never.
I didn't build this.
Yeah.
Did Impossible German put molten gold in here? No.
Yeah.
I know, for good reason.
You don't even have the dice type.
But, you got Crimson Bond Marine here. Destroy this unit, place 1 wound token on up to 3 target units. So I think it is pretty concerned with the fact that you need to clear your own battlefield. Like, pretty much everything in here is able to do stuff to anyone.
Yeah, which makes sense, because that's how you load up the Summon Fallens.
Yeah, so
and
you load up some
Fallens,
and then you can drop them all in, and then you can clear the board of your own spent Fallens and drop them in again and do it again.
Which
so,
makes sense.
Yeah, Zombie Army trying to come correct.
And the zombies, in most cases, are going to be fine against big units because they're not going to be the hypnotized snake.
Yeah.
So obviously you have stuff like the rhino or the abilities that can't be blocked by the little 1 health things or 1 attack things.
Right.
But that's also understanding what your answers are to particular things, and then how you're also eking out your damage and advantage is so key to actually making this happen.
Yeah, for sure. And I wouldn't be like anything with those abilities really not terribly worried about like, okay, you did 4 because I couldn't block it, or you did 6 because I couldn't block it even, or 7 from the rhino. It's like I can heal 2 with my cards and get out. It's the swing for like 28.
Yeah.
That is like, well, if I can't block it, that's kind of a big advantage of a swarm in general, is that like stuff just can't get through it. Yeah. And so that is a problem you got to deal with.
And that was literally the craziest snake I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I've been playing Maoni since the beginning of 1.0.
It makes sense, man. You AoE a bunch of 1 health things and then get a bunch of tokens.
Yeah. It's Wildcats.
All right. Well, so there's 2 newly constructed decks, which of course doesn't mean that everything is just going to be, it's just beautiful. It's a perfect. You've arrived at the perfect deck. So Zach doing the building on Maoni, obviously you saw that the Silver Snake idea getting more realized, more resilient, way better. So just taking that like pre-con idea, pre-con concept, and like applying your own deck building thoughts to it can yield a similar concept, but way better. Like just improve what the deck is already doing out of the box. And then you saw here, this is a totally new take on Cole. And so you can take this, and against certain deck archetypes, like we've seen, every game has a bunch of archetypes, right? So there are some archetypes that you're going to cover up immediately with this kind of a Cole deck. Like those mid-range, like Knight style decks, I think we'll have a really tough time putting out enough stuff to deal with this. Big unit getting through with like Hypnotize is now something that's on my radar. If I'm building this deck and continuing to tweak and hone it, then I'm like, okay, I need to figure out my game plan against somebody who's doing this kind of a thing. And or if my game plan isn't good enough with the cards that I have here, then I need to figure out what cards I need to add so that I can attack this and not just lose if I get paired against like a Maoni deck, right? And this is the beautiful thing about deck building and about metagames in general, in that you have to constantly be adapting to what other players are doing. That's why these kinds of competitive games are so fun. It's because it's not a static challenge where like you play a computer game and it's the same AI over and over again. It's another human being being clever. And so you're constantly trying to be more clever than the other person. And that means that your decks are going to change and adapt over time. And then your opponents are going to do the same thing. And then all of a sudden you're in the top 4 of a tournament and you're like, I know exactly what I'm doing. and you win the whole thing.
Or even where I'm starting to feel, where like 70% of the time I feel like I'm making a pretty good decision, and the rest of the time it's like, I also think just comparing this to the pre-con decks, one of the things that gets added is you essentially have the capacity to adapt. Like, I think the pre-cons are a little more one-dimensional. They have less variety of cards, so you can deal with less variety of problems. And so the skill cap on this is absurd. Even the same stack of cards here that I was playing, I think playing like a really good player playing with this deck, I kept seeing cards and I was like, that's kind of interesting that I could maybe do this.
I could do it that way.
But knowing all the little tricks that you can do, like even there, how do you actually get through the Golden Veil snake pathway? There's so many little things to learn, which is what makes the game so exciting, honestly. There's so much there for you to get good at and dive into. We're by no means experts. There's tons of people on our Discord channel, on the Ashes Discord, that are really incredible. So if you're looking to go from pre-con to this, I definitely recommend getting on our Discord, posting the Ashes channel, getting on the Ashes Discord, looking at deck lists, looking at cards, trying a bunch of different decks, and then doing exactly what Steve was saying, which is play games with the decks and then iterate, change things, try it again. And some of our favorite streaming moments with Ashes over the past couple of years have been create a moment, and then Steven makes changes and tries to beat me. He beats me. I have to make changes to beat that thing. And you go back and forth, and that's just a customizable card game. That's one of the biggest upsides.
Yeah, it's the whole game. It's the whole point. That's why even a 2-person meta can be super fun because of that. The decks, the adventuring party decks that we're mentioning here, you can just, there's gonna be links a lot of places. We'll put one in the description of this video. But the easiest thing to do is just Google adventuring party Ashes Reborn. Like I just Googled that here on my phone, or your search of choice, whatever. And they're both popping up right to the top. And then there's even a video. And there's another video. And then there's our video called Gameplay Rules Updates. And then deck building with updated, it's got the pandemic symbol still on. You remember those days?
That's our streams.
Yeah, those old streams. Yeah, but Jason's stuff comes right up. You just search Adventuring Party Ashes Reborn, so you can find those decks that way. I think there's 12 total decks that have been worked through and into an improved and different state. So you can check those out. If you want to play Ashes, if you want Ashes to keep being made, hop on our subscription. This is the first time we've done a system like this. We're calling it PDP. Ashes became Ashes Reborn because enough people are signed up, subscribed to these products so that Plaid Hat can make them and send them out. They make them, we get them, we send them out to all the subscribers. So all the new products that have come out since Ashes Reborn has come about is because of subscribers out there, many of them probably watching this video. If you want to be one of those subscribers, you can get all new Ashes products and ensure that the game keeps getting printed. So that's a great thing to do. Also got that Ashes League, check that out. That's a webcam league. There's also a number of good leagues, first 5. There's a lot of good shuffle bus stuff, competitive stuff going on. So check out the main Ashes Discord, check out our Discord. Things are happening, and then we're going to come in on the next episode next week. It's going to be on Thursday. Is that right? Let's see the schedule. Don't need to say let's see the schedule, I think is right. Does the robot understand that? Hey, Google. Did you tell me the other day that if you say that, you can trigger other people's devices?
Yeah.
That's so
if people are listening at home, like watching on their TV or even loud enough on their phone, smart devices by Amazon, Apple, Google.
So good.
You say the right keyword. I was watching some YouTube video, and they, in the background, were asking a question to their smart device, and then it triggered mine at home. So and I was like, oh no, what's happening?
That's so funny.
Sam asking, do we know when the next product is coming out? So the next expansions, Hope and Demona, should be releasing relatively soon. So if you're wanting those through the subscription, I would sign up soon. Yeah,
and just a heads up on that too. I know that Plaid Hat is still, there's still a ton of backlog and container stuff and fulfillment stuff going on. So they're not hitting the desired release schedule right now, and it's still just knock-on effects of pandemic, etc. So just understand that's going on. So yeah, we're going to come back in next week. We're going to do some webcam stuff. I think we might also at least demonstrate what Ash Techie looks like and how it functions.
That'd be fun. I've never really interacted with it, but I've heard it's really good.
It's basically Gen Techie, but for Ashes.
I also never did Gym Teching.
Oh, come on. You didn't test? I tested like a fiend on Gym Teching.
The schedule popped right up.
Yeah, there it is. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this, for watching, for listening, for being a part of the Ashes community. It's one of the best, of course. And honestly, can't wait for 3.0 when we can have some kind of a big celebration for this. Because it's all happened, but we've not got a chance to gather and really celebrate. So we'll be making that happen
Ashes
as soon as
Weekend
we can.
Part 2.
2.0. Reborn.
2.0.
Ashes Weekend Reborn.
There
Take care.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
We'll see you on the next video. And my mouse isn't working. And now it's back. Take care, everybody.